This is a Purple Line Express.
We're here today in our beautiful showroom in the Chicago Merchandise Mart.
The fact that you're trying to sugarcoat it with language that's also why it offends me.
It's really fun. We've got our own design studio that does textile design.
This is Merchandise Mart.
So welcome to the Wyzendale Weekly Wrap-Up, where we talk about architecture, design, everything in between. Since Wyzendale is a architecture and interior design focused team, we do have a lot of architectural guests and designers that join the podcast. And today we have a repeat guest who's been on quite some time. So go ahead, you can introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. Felix, my favorite person in the whole world. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, all those things. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's a rough start to the new year for me, so I really appreciate you providing me like the best of January so far.
Good. What is the cliff note? What's like the bullet, the 7-letter bullet, the 7-word sentence
like the haiku
of your New Year's? Like what happened? I know you were trying to get into the story.
Travel internationally, check your visa. If you don't, make sure you're flexible to have an alternate plan and do that really quickly, because we went from going to Vietnam to going to Croatia in about 3.5 hours.
Nice.
And we only paid, like, in all honesty, like, we paid probably $500 in idiot tax.
Yeah.
With things we had to cancel, whatever. So the big scheme of it and a 10-day trip, like,
sure,
not so
bad. Are you a
bad.
gambling man by chance?
I'm not. I mean, I'm not. No. I mean, I do.
You're not a Vegas dude, or
no?
Yeah.
Like I mean, I don't. I like going to Vegas, but I don't go to Vegas to gamble. And I like sports betting, but I don't like. I'm not on like. I have buddies that are like literally every day, like on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Like if I'm out with a bunch of guys, like I'll bet, or like big games I'll bet.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
I have like so many other vices. Like I gotta keep them. I gotta keep them. I hit the few hard.
Yeah.
So I had to keep the rest of them
for sure
low.
Bourbon is one. We got here the Longwind and Eagle and Foxtrot bourbon. It's not bad.
It's not bad. It's
actually pretty good.
Aged 5 years.
I was hesitant to buy it because New Year's Eve going into 2020, we had a horrible dinner at Longwind and Eagle. Horrible dinner.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
no.
It was bad. It was bad.
Oh,
Quite
no.
bad. Should have been an indicator of the year to come, but damn, it was bad. But anyway, shout out to Longwind and Eagle.
Yeah. Well, your bourbon's great.
So started 2023. Lot to cover, a lot to talk about, I guess. The most recent one is the news with Gensler and the new additional team member personnel. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I mean, I'm finding out about it like everybody else. I mean, I think like the news is like 2 days old, right?
Yeah, right.
It's I mean, I think it's interesting for us. I mean, I've read a lot of internal, external stuff. Like Fast Company already had something out on it. I thought it's actually the cross-pollination of like that of it, as if you just think of it as in the digital universe and like the experience and space creation and all that stuff. People have been going back and forth between like architecture firms and like 3D rendering firms and all this kind, and like, like the Marvel studios and the Disney studios, like that kind of piece of it has kind of, I think, already kind of existed. So
interesting
to have so it didn't surprise me as much in that sense because the synergies between experience.
Ding, ding, ding. First corporate word, synergies.
Oh, fuck.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Thank
Sorry.
You got me off my game. Good job.
Is that the strategy though? It is more in the digital world.
No. I'm just
okay.
saying what I was trying to get to is that the experience-based design and things that are based on experience, I think, is just like it is the thing. Everybody will explain it in different ways, or they'll explain it in a hospitality focus of like, what's the guest experience, or if I'm a resident, it's like, what's my experience when I get there? Like, what's my view? Like, from my unit, that's about your experience, right? So it's that people say them in all kinds of different ways, but when you really boil it all back down, when you boil it down to like the essence of it, it's like it's like your experience. And so
For sure.
when you think how much you have to compete against like digital experience, right? If I'm a gamer, if I'm on Oculus, if I'm, you know, if I'm people are working from home.
Have you been on Oculus, by the way?
Okay. I wouldn't call myself a big gamer, but,
We'll talk about it after. Go ahead, keep going.
So I think the idea of bringing somebody who's like was so focused in that side of it,
Sure.
and like crafting experience,
Sure.
whether it's through digital or whatever, you're still like, it's still a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's really, it really is a crafted thing. And so no one's gonna have the magic key to like what the world's gonna look like. And, you know, everybody that in our industry cares about, are people coming back to work or not? Are people staying home or not? Because it's like, are we designing people's homes to be slightly bigger because you're gonna need to wear work? Or are we designing workspace be a little cooler because we're trying to drag people out of their house and actually come in?
Sure.
And it, you know, this is going to be a forever problem. And I think we've talked about it on this podcast, like from the day one.
Yeah,
and,
we have.
I don't have any answers. So if you're looking for me for answers, I don't have them anymore. Except for experience. I do actually, I mean, I do think that is the, I think that was actually kind of a revelation before this thing. It was like I actually had to develop, I won't say who it was, but it was actually a really kind of cool conversation about super successful developer, but they also like, hey, maybe we are becoming like the old guys, like just, should we still be doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
How do we,
Yeah.
you know, what do people really want now?
Yeah.
Like, what do they want, like, to get, how do I get people to go back to work? Because they want, I mean, developers want it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
It's obviously.
Well, I mean,
So it's like they were like, let's talk about it. Let's like push this. So like now having this Disney, like I'd love to bring that Disney guy in and sit with a bunch of key developers in some kind of closed door thing and be like, let's just talk about it.
Maybe you and him should just come on the podcast, the Wyzendale podcast, and you guys just talk, right? So is he out of? Would he be out of L.A. or I saw it on the Gensler Chicago Instagram? So what is that? How does someone like that? Do they just float around?
I think they just float around.
Yeah.
He works wherever he wants.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
It's interesting. I'm still feel like I'm relatively new to Gensler. There's some point where I'll have to never ever say that again. But like there was someone in our office 2 days ago, and she had worked at. I mean, it's similar. Like she'd been at Coca-Cola for like 20 years, and you know was part of workplace and everything else for Coke, and now she works for Gensler. Right. So like now you're talking about another person who like understands, like her focus is like client relationships because she spent 20 years with interior design firms and everybody else like coming to her and all these places coming to her, asking her like, you know, for work and how to do this. So like to have her on the opposite side of the table now and be like, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, this is what worked, this didn't work. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. It's like you know, you bring these really weird kind of cool different perspectives, but it's in some weird way it works because you're not getting. I mean, some people can be critical of like designers like being like, well, yeah, you design, you don't know what it's really like.
Yeah, for sure,
right?
For sure.
It's like you design a beautiful building, but it leaks. You know, design or like melts a car.
Yeah.
Or you know, it's like you design a chair that looks great, but it's like no one wants to sit in it because it's comfortable as shit. So. You know, it's cool that Gensler like kind of thinks about it in that way.
Well, yeah, and they have the dollars to spend and throw at people like that too. But wait, I want to unpack a little bit of that. First, it is moving into the digital world, and that's something I was gonna talk to you about. I think it's kind of interesting, you know, us being a smaller team, but working with more experienced people. We understand how long the process takes, and every time we work with a client, they want it faster, right? And that's something that's always, I want it fucking fast. And it's like, okay, well, literally if we worked 24/7, it's still going to take us about 2 weeks to get you what you're looking for, right? Regardless of it, right? Yeah. And it leaves no leeway for additional clients or even learning, right? Or being inspired. But so I do think that the digital environment is an interesting thing because of the speed at which it can go, right? Because you don't have to wait. So that's one thing I want to unpack with you. The second one is like once you become that successful and you see it with like musicians or, just once you reach that upper echelon, I guess you lose touch with what got you there, right? You lose touch with the grit, right, that gets you there, because I mean, I at least feel that way too, because we are, hustling different ideas, we're hustling actually the projects, we're doing it all, right? But if we eventually get to more of a comfortable, I'm talking about like, a fat comfortable position, you sort of lose that edge because you don't have to do that anymore, right? Because you've already established that. And then I think a lot of brands, once they get to that point, that's when they cannibalize the youth, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
The interns, the different creatives that are out there, and they just gobble them up, chew up their ideas, and fucking spit them back out, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
That's a good analogy, actually. Think about it in like the artist, mentality. I was, because I was actually having this conversation with my wife, and we were just talking about like who are the people that that like kind of just tapped out. It started because there's a really good documentary that about Sheryl Crow, and like she just like literally just like tapped out, but like you realize like she did music forever, but then eventually she's probably just like, I don't have anything else
to say.
And then it was like Jules, like the same way. Like Jules, like she's a great singer, and she like,
Sure.
but she had like all this hardship to like, that like that grit, that grind. I mean, her story is well known, right? So it's like, but then she got to a point, and then she's just like, I got nothing else to say.
Well, that's
so
why
it's just like it's so it's like I kind of appreciate that, because when I was at SOM, they'd been through like 2 decades or 3 decades of apexes, right? Of like, and they were at that point where like, we don't, we pick our projects, like we're not about grit anymore, and which I respect. It's like fine, it's like they picked a path and an ethos, which I think they do really well, and that is who they are. But it's not how they started, which is super crazy, because it's like just the other day someone randomly like sent me a note because they're trying to find some old ass drawings. Like SOM did like the Tribune like printing press bill. You know what I mean?
Wow,
It's
yeah.
like everybody had.
I want to talk to you about
everybody had their grit phase, right?
Yeah,
it's like there's nobody in SOM right now that's gonna be like, they're gonna tear down our building.
Yeah.
But they did grit too, right?
Yeah.
There was a time where like they were doing printing presses, like because they were trying to pay the bills, and like they did a bunch of like utilitarian buildings. They would never do one today. I mean, ever. So. You
don't think they would, just because it doesn't fit their type of.
I mean, I think they would do a utilitarian building if it presented a design opportunity, but they wouldn't just do it. They wouldn't just do like they're not going to do it in a precast industrial warehouse. Like, you're not going to. It's not happening. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Gensler would, but Gensler has a different ethos, right? I mean, for the right client, like if Amazon was like, hey, we do a bunch of work with them, but they're like, hey, we need you to do. And we probably have, and no one ever just talks about it. They probably just do it, and they're like, "Hey, can you help us? Like, we need a distribution center, and we can't find somebody, but can you guys do it?" I'm sure Gensler does it.
And that's the thing too. When you're at a Gensler and it's so big, right? You're out of touch. There's no way you can touch what LA's doing, what New York's doing. I mean, and on that note, let me give a shout out to Brentano and Sarah and Reed. From Buckley Redner, because they would like to highlight the I told them I wasn't going to forget the name. Framework, thank you. Framework textile that Gensler worked on as well, which is over your left shoulder, over yonder. But stay tuned for after the podcast to have a demonstration of the framework from Sarah herself. But I guess same thing. Like, even if you go back in the day when we recorded the first podcast in another showroom, we were sitting in a Gensler vignette, and I didn't even know it, right? And it was just like, oh my God, like Gensler designed this, and I doubt you didn't know it at the time either. But like, how does that happen? I mean, I know how it happens, but like, how do you even like navigate through that, right? Because you're representing something that's so large, right?
Yeah, it's like I have a lot of people. There's a lot of as new people come, and I've been as I've kind of found my way through it, and as we have new people come in, like what I always try to say is that Gensler does a really good job of kind of trying to be as decentralized and unhierarchical as possible, right? So Gensler really is really pretty it's really really flat when you really boil it down. Like we have a board, we have CEOs, you have some leadership hierarchy that exists just to manage the chaos of like being whatever we are, 6,000 plus people. But in the end of the day, like when you think of it from a design standpoint, it's super flat. It's like I was like on just in a typical thing like today for projects that are based in Chicago. I've been on the phone with like Gensler people in Toronto, in LA, in Detroit, in Houston. It's like in just one day and it was like it wasn't hard to find them. It wasn't hard to like kind of figure out where they need. It's like I had specific questions and everybody's like this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Like they all do this shit all the time.
Yeah,
I don't ever do it.
Yeah,
so it's like the thing that you have to learn at Gensler is like people are kind of preconditioned to not ask those questions. Like they don't want to seem like I need a ton of help.
Gotcha.
And like Gensler's like literally set up to like for the opposite ethos. Like there's
Ask
a
away.
ton of people out that are
Yeah,
just
yeah.
ready to like ask away and like we'll figure out how to help you.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And
that's a lot of resource that you can offer to a client, right? Like
it's super crazy. It's like but I will say too though, it's like it is like everything. It's an art and science because like I've had we have a great like analytics group. They will tell you trends and all this stuff. And we had this new developer, like let me back up. The developer new to Chicago, but like based in another city. And we thought this would be like a huge benefit for them, right? So we just embedded it in our work. We won the job, and like the first meeting, this guy came out of the gate, and it's like he had a ton of good information. He's on that, and then it's like a month later, it's like they have a guy in house who's like this is what he was supposed to be doing, right? He's supposed to be the expert in like all these markets, and it's not that he didn't know anything our guy was saying, but it's like they basically kind of quietly said like, hey, we don't need that. We don't need that work. Like it's this guy's he's a partner in our firm. It's like you're kind of this like. Because it was like we didn't ask an extra service or anything else. We just embedded it in a process. And we were just showing, hey, this is part of our process. And he was like, kind of embarrassed, that guy, and not intentionally. No one was mad about it, and we got over it. But it's like we can also offer too much.
Yeah,
that's the point. I think that's where Gensler actually doesn't really maybe like we may think it, but we probably don't. We don't self edit. That great.
Yeah,
because it's like, oh, this project's, you need a sports guy, you need this guy, you need a hospitality guy, you need this guy, this guy, this guy. And then it's like, now you got, without these, all want to be a part of it. But then it's like, I got 10 people, telling me how to do like a, 400,000 square foot something, where they all touch a piece of it. But it's like, come on now. It's like, I've had that happen to me too, where it's just like, it just got like overwhelming. It's like, I have too much help. It can be that way. And then when you talk about product and you talk about that stuff, it's like that's a layer that I don't think anybody even talks about either, right? It's like the guys doing chairs and lights and fabrics and door handles and like all this stuff that like.
But then it adds to the bottom line though too, which is interesting, right? Like,
it adds to the bottom line for sure, and it's like it's
sorry, not to cut you off. Not only the bottom line, it adds to the marketing and the brand of Gensler, right? Like that's more of what it is. Like obviously we don't think of Gensler as a textile company, right? We think of them as a large architecture company, right? But these little efforts, I don't want to say little, these efforts are huge, and it's huge for a company like Brentano as well to have a collaboration with Gensler, right? So it's an all win-win scenario. We're right now hawking our 3-year party and then also a spelling bee that we're doing in August. And it's those are marketing efforts, right?
Yeah.
It's not, we're not into events planning. We can do that if a client wants us to be hired for that, but that's all about marketing Wyzendale, who we are. So that's a whole other layer for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's all interesting. I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
I
right.
think
And if
it's
you
like
love design and you love everything, right, it's going to be interesting. You are going to go up to this textile over here, what you did, and draw your name. And, it's interesting because you love it and you breathe it, right? For sure.
I mean, it's like, you call me out on like using the word synergy, which it's like, I actually do kind of despise that word. And
Do you use it a lot though?
I don't use it that much, and I don't know why I use it now. I think I just got pressured into like talking cool, and then I was like, "What are the
professional?
What do all the other cool guys always say?" Just on that note, can I take a side note because it's as a poll, like this word is starting to bother me to an exponential level, and I don't have an alternative word, so this is kind of terrible, but I'm starting to really get irritated with people defining staff of design firms as talent. Like the talent. Like we say this all the time. Like
sure.
we need to if they're talking about the employees, they're like the talent, they use the word talent instead of employees. Like they we need to get the best talent. But they don't mean talent in the way of like talented people. They just mean talent as in the generic term for employee.
Right.
Just like somehow employee became like
talent, yeah.
Passe, and now it's like, but
see, now it's interesting.
I hate maybe this is where I'm too literal. I'll just say why I hate it.
Yeah,
and I can't find it. It's like I'm a project manager. Gensler makes me call myself a design manager. I'm also a principal. I'm also a project director. I have all these.
I got to talk about that too.
I have all these weird titles, right? But at the end of the day, it's like I am a project manager. Like I will, if a client or somebody outside of our industry asks me what I do, that's the most universally thing. Like I'm an employee and I'm a project manager. That's it. I'm employed by Gensler, and I do project management. Everything else outside of that, I feel like is just kind of whitewash. I am talented at some parts of project management, but I am also really bad at a lot of it too.
Yeah.
So like I hate because what calling people talent in my mind, it's like it blurs the line of like, yeah, you know what? Some people are just not good at everything.
True.
You have employees that are just there to do a specific task.
Right.
And that's why they're good at it.
Yeah.
You don't want them to do anything more than that.
Yeah.
You'd actually prefer they stay in their lane.
Yeah.
But so I don't think of them as talent.
Yeah.
I think of them as employees, which is, why is that so bad? Like you're an employee doing a task.
For sure. But
Great.
I also think that's a big firm mentality though too, where you're coming from. Talent would be something that we would.
I mean,
consider.
do you ever say that? Do you ever go out
no.
You go to an like a recruiting. Hey, I need more talent.
No. But I feel as though that's such a boutique word, and I don't think you would use it at a Gensler. Like you just need someone to pump this stuff out. This is my
Gensler. That's what I'm saying.
I know that's what I'm saying, but I
hate it.
feel as though that's my perception of Gensler, and I mean I'll never say never, but that has always been my perception of Gensler. I know, but I'm just saying. I never say. I try not to never say never. But like, if you come to a small shop like us, we're 5 people, right? So we have talents, right? So just an example, the other day, one of our clients was like, "Oh, well, what was that gentleman's name, and where does he work?" And I was like, "No, he works for us." And he's like, "Really?" And I go, "Yeah, well, he only focuses on that. Like, he's talented at that portion of the job of what we're providing you. Right. So he's not full on." Like a person that's going to touch everything regarding what we're doing. So like that to me is what means talent as opposed to, an overall studio kind of production.
Like so for those that don't know me, like I do architecture, ground up architecture. So like Gensler is multifaceted as we always talked about, but more complicated buildings in projects than uncomplicated. And I love that's why I've always embraced the three-legged stool from our. It's like you have design, you have someone who design, someone who's in the lane of technical, and someone who's in the lane of management. And those three are needed. Without a doubt. You call it a three-legged stool on purpose. Like, you need all three equally balanced. You need someone looking after all those aspects, but not in a generalist way, in a very specific way.
For sure.
Right? Like, I am trusting you to design this building. I'm trusting you to make sure that this building
It's technical.
is
technically
sound, and I'm trusting you to make sure that we're not
delivered on time,
that we're not losing money,
Yeah.
that we're delivering on time,
Yeah.
that the client's happy, that we're meeting all these goals, right? Like all those three things are. I think it's like there's somehow like getting out of that is like crazy. I feel like that was such a simple diagram.
Yeah.
And now it's like you talk about talent,
Right.
which is like ambiguously like anybody can do anything.
Sure.
Anybody can, we're all talented people.
Yeah, everybody's unique.
I'm like,
Everybody's
we're
worth
not.
it.
We're just not. We're just
But
not.
do
We're
you
just
thi-
not. Can we just be honest? We're not.
Do you
We're
think-
not talented people.
But do you think
we're
that's
not talented in every aspect of the universe?
Do you think that's the larger firm trying to stay in touch with today? Because you're so out of touch. You're like, oh, well, let's just start referring to them as talent. And now we're cool and young and hip with the times.
No,
that could be.
I don't think. I think it's no. I do. I think that it's. I think somewhere in like the ideology of it, like calling someone an employee, someone just there. I think it happened just organically, right? And I don't think it's just a Gensler thing. Like everybody, like, well, employee. This is my perception. Employee implies you work for me. You're expendable.
Yeah.
You're just the labor.
Yeah.
I'm the manager.
Yeah.
I direct you.
Yeah.
You're just the employee.
Sure.
Which I get it. All that shit's still true.
It is.
All that shit is 100% true.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the fact that you're trying to sugarcoat it with language is that's also why it offends me. Because you're trying to pretend like I'm recruiting you as talent.
Yeah.
I'm using that adage of like I recruit talent.
Right.
I found you.
You're a diamond in the rough.
You're a diamond in the rough. Like, I heard you sing on the street corner. I saw you in that school play. Like, I found the talent. Like, I brought you in. Like, we're partners. Like, I want to partner with you because you're talented.
Yeah.
Like, that's not really how it goes. Because as soon as the firm decides you're untalented, you're an employee and you're fired. So it's like, no firm has a talent handbook. I guarantee they're all still called an employee handbook.
So I guess one of my big pet peeves, if we're talking about fucking titles and hello, how you doing?
Hello.
Apologize, we got a little noise in the background here. Hello. You were talking about all the titles you have, right?
Oh, right.
And one big title that I have a high respect for is creative director.
Oh,
Creative director is like a huge, and me and a friend of mine always talk about, he wants to be a design director. And I'm like, okay, like he's like, oh, I want to be a design director. I was like, wouldn't you want to be a creative director? Like, you control every sort of creative aspect of it. But then
interesting.
Some people, I don't know, I just feel like it's bastardized the name of creative director, right? Like, creative director to me is an overall, you're very creative, obviously, but there's a characteristic, a soft skill, if you will, as far as management and leadership in a creative director as well, right? Like, you have to be able to coach and nurture and push people, and
right.
So that's one of my big pet peeves for sure. And my big pet peeve is also when firms, and I don't know if Gensler does this, and I apologize, no disrespect to Gensler, but if they have like D2, D5, D6, like, you're an architecture 3, you're a senior, now you're a director, now you're an associate. Does that?
Gensler doesn't do. Gensler's been. It's interesting. So let's unpack this, because actually this is actually really good. Actually, this is actually really. I think as a design community, we should.
Sorry, not to cut you off. Brett and I have been putting out heat in these podcasts for years, and people are better start catching
We actually
to the
have not
heat.
pulled a lot of punches. I think if Gensler saw these, they'd probably like have a conversation, but I don't care. I honestly,
We've been putting out heat, so everybody checking this out, please go back. And time is another thing that we're going to touch on. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, but here's I'll tell from my own perspective and the mistakes I made first. So, I jumped from AECOM. My short story is AECOM, SOM, Gensler.
Yeah.
With one, and I'll explain the breaks here. So, when I wanted to leave AECOM, I kind of had reached. It's not like anybody else in this universe. I thought I'd reached like kind of the pinnacle of where AECOM was going to take me, and I was like, I could do the job I was doing for AECOM for the rest of my life, be comfortable. I probably would have just I would have notched up. I probably financially I would most likely be within spitting distance the same I am right now, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't. I just wanted the money part of this is not actually a thing. I think everybody thinks it is, but it's in our world, it's not. You more or less end up.
There's a cap, right?
There's a cap,
Somewhat.
and you always end up in the same fucking place.
Yeah,
no matter how old you are, whatever, you may take jumps here or there and get like your graph may be a bumpy graph, but if you look at it, whatever. So fine. But I took it, but it was title, right? I left for title my first time.
Yeah.
And it was like these guys were like, we want you to, I was doing a lot of courthouses and justice work. So it was like the title was, we want you to be the regional justice leader. But I was like,
that's a big title. Regional justice leader.
But I was like, at that point in time, I was out of school I was only out of school for.
Yeah, right.
6 years.
Yeah, matters for sure.
6 years.
Yeah,
and I was like, but that's all I've been doing. 6-7 years. It wasn't that much, but I've been hardcore doing it, and in my mind, I've been like, yeah, I'm busting my ass. I'm doing all this stuff, and I jumped ship, and they like took this title, and it's like, I had my business card said it. I didn't do fucking anything that you would relate to like that idea. Like if you translate that idea into like responsibility, like I was doing none of that. Like I didn't lead anything. I didn't work on justice projects anymore. It's like I wasn't even working regionally. Like I wasn't doing none of it. None of it.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking none of it.
Yeah.
None of it. And so I jumped ship, and that's where I end up at SOM. And so I made and then SOM's rank at the time, SOM's ranks were pretty short. Like they didn't have all these titles either. It's like, I think they were just like associate, like it was associate principal, I think, and principal, or like they changed the term principal, associate director, and then principal. Mm-hmm. When I started, that's all it was. There was like 3 tiers. That's it. Like you could have responsibilities, or you could be a studio director, or you could like run projects or whatever, but like in the titles that mattered, that was it. There was 3 tiers. That's it. Make those 3 tiers, and then they added director when I was there. So it's like you had associate director, then principal.
Gotcha.
Or partner. It was partner person. I get that kind of. It's important actually in this story. Now, if you look at SOM, they're associate director, principal, and then partner, right? So they've added layers on purpose because it's like, it's about retention, right? Those titles are somewhat irrelevant, right, to what you do.
Yeah.
They affect your compensation,
Of course.
but so they're important.
Which
they're
is
important. They're important in that way.
I feel the only reason why they're kind of there a little.
No,
bit.
but so you go to Gensler, where I'm at, is that Gensler still, from a compensation standpoint, is actually very, very concise. Like you can be
a talent.
No, you can be
You can be talent.
You can be talented, and then talent. But you
Higher
can-
talent.
higher talent with more compensation.
Fuck.
But now you can. But you can only be. You can be an associate. You can be a senior associate
Yeah.
or a principal. Like
Gotcha.
that's it. Like from the tiers that actually matter, there's literally only 3. There's 3 rungs to make it to principal at Gensler, which the time between them or all of that is legitimately based on your experience, what you've done. Like there's a ton of things, right? It's not necessarily easy. I made it quicker because it's like lateral hires. You're judged differently, frankly, in any firm. But here's where Gensler is like also struggling, right? So we have design directors, we have technical directors. They're creating a formality of the project director title. Those aren't related to your compensation. Those are just
Responsibility.
your responsibilities.
Yeah.
But now they're like everybody's, and I'm finally getting back to your point. So design director used to be like a really coveted title with low membership, right? So it's like if you were given the title design director, it truly was like, regardless of whether you are, regardless of whether you're a principal or not, because that's a different kind of it's a different category of kind of responsibility and scrutiny. It's like if are you running design director used to mean, are you running projects and teams and creating great design,
Yeah.
right? It's like over a long period of time, not like
Right.
a couple years or whatever. Like so design director used to mean like a thing, right? But somehow Gensler allowed it to get watered down. So this literally conversation is happening right now. Like we have too many design directors. True. And now we have more and more people that want to be design directors because they feel like I'm not. Now they see their peer group. This guy's a design director. I'm not. Like what? I don't understand.
Yeah.
So now they want now like they're going to do. I guarantee they're going to do. They haven't done this. This is my speculation. They're going to do the only thing they can physically think to do. They're going to create an actual title that's called like senior designer or something else.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and if they had enough cojones, they would demote some people.
Right. Exactly. I was just gonna say that.
So
does that mean that the people who have
no, but
are,
but I think, but it's never come up, and it's not very Gensler-y. But I think they have to. I think Gensler should take a stronger look at that. If like you like these because these titles are not tied to compensation, they're tied to like what you do, like. Are you doing that job, right? On a year-to-year basis? Like if you're like, it may not be your fault. It may just be unfortunate. Like it may be that like you are a really talented designer and you're put on some amazing mega project. So it's like, and at the end of the day, it's amazing. Like you're designing like the next best whatever, right? But you're not directing design. Like you are now you as an individual, super talented, doing amazing work. It's not a dig on you, really. It's just that like you're not directing design. You're getting directed. You're someone else, a principal or someone else above you, is telling you what to do, and you're part of the team.
Do you
Fine.
guys know, and do you know the average work tenure at the Chicago office? That would be interesting to know, especially for the talent, and then for the other.
I mean, I can't answer that, but here I can't answer that specifically, but in more or less, in close enough generality, I know for a fact that 40% plus or minus of the people at Gensler were not there in 2019.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that, like, from an
That's
average,
a pretty big number.
It's a huge number.
Yeah.
So from a tenure standpoint, like it's like already like, okay, 60% of the people were not there in 2019. I know there's a lot of people like me that joined, I've been there 5 years. So
Yeah.
there's a ton of people like us. It gets pretty small. I think it actually gets pretty small.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously we're talking macro and we're talking micro over here because in our brief experience, I do see a lot of people want to know the title. They want to know, hey, what's my title going to be? Can I change my title? What can it be? Because I think if you were a creative director at Gensler and then you went to fish to another firm, that name, that recognition is definitely going to be something that's going to get you like another like kind of resume popped up to the top, right? But for us, like that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, you want to be the head honcho? You want to call yourself owner? Like, call yourself owner. Like, nothing matters to me. I just care about the project's work getting done, the money coming in. Like, I'm working it just as hard as an intern, but you could call me intern. It doesn't matter. So it's definitely interesting to see the title game being played. And then we can't really create that hierarchy. I mean, sure, we have a hierarchy. We have project leads. We have AORs, right?
Sure.
Like, that is like, generally, you're taking care of all the technical stuff. You're taking care of the designer. Hey, if you have a question, you're a client, you have a question, you know who to go to. But it's difficult to have some of that. And I don't know, man. It's definitely been an interesting ride the first 3 years for sure.
That's a good point, though. I mean, it's like if you're like, all right, if you're shopping yourself outside of your firm, right, and you want to say, well, what role was I playing? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the title of that role? Right. I do kind of get that. Like, I have never, as if I'm being honest, like I've never been fortunate or whatever. Like, I've just never been in that position. Like, I've never been in that position where I've had to actively shop myself out. Like, I've changed jobs, but I've changed jobs kind of in a more organic way.
And sorry, I'm grinning ear to ear because if you guys did not hear on the last episode, he talked about his experience in working at a print shop on the third shift because he's a hustler and he's got the grind and you already put in your dues. So like, it's not like you don't have to do that. And that's what I think, people often mistake, like even if there's a design director, like you said, the peer-to-peer, right? They're like, oh, well, my peer. And that's why the pay scale thing is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Like, sure, we may not get paid the same, but you don't bring to the table what I bring. Right. You know what I mean? Like, if you take it as a holistic business perspective, hey, we can't bring you the resources that Gensler has. So Gensler's fees are going to be fucking crazy. We can bring you a small, compact, true number, but we can't offer that, so that's like, that opens up a whole other can of worms. But go ahead, sorry. That story is a great story, and I hope more people check that one out.
No, but I mean, I'm stepping back and just kind of sympathizing with that idea. Like, it's like, if I got fired from Gensler tomorrow, which could always happen, like, how I would describe myself, I would for sure like describe myself even principal doesn't really get you that far. Principal is even watered down across, like, it doesn't, different firms are, I mean, we have Gensler is 60, let's just say it is 6,000, like, we're probably 300 principals, right? So it's like, if I'm being completely honest, a principal at Gensler versus like a partner at SOM, like, we're not equal, right? We have the same, like, we have equity in the firm. We're at the high. There's no higher title. There's nowhere else to go, right? It's like, and your equity changes, but in their partners that change equity, but the partner to employee ratio at SOM is completely different, right? Yeah. It's like, it's very, very small, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to put myself out there, if I had to go shop myself, I couldn't just say, well, I was a principal at Gensler. Like, that's not actually going to be enough.
Right.
It wouldn't be. Right. But internally, now that where I'm at, like I rarely introduce myself that way. Like almost never.
Yeah.
Because, and maybe it's because of age, or maybe it's just because of of experience, whatever. But I don't care. Like if someone's like, everybody's been on the introductory meetings, like, what do you do? Like, I do this, I do this.
Oh,
Like,
those are the worst.
no,
Like,
but I'm
what
like,
you-
but I always, and people have actually, some people actually, which is funny, some people have actually called me out for being like almost too modest about it.
yeah.
But, and then I push back because like what I say is that I'm a project manager. Like I run these projects. Like I run the contract, I run what we say we're going to do for you, the timelines, the budgets, the consultants. Like I manage this project. I have people under me that help me manage this project, but my role and my goal on this thing is to make sure that everybody, from the client, from the consultants, from everybody, doesn't have to think about this shit.
Yeah.
I think about it.
Yeah.
I think about schedules and deliverables and fees and money and invoices and all that other shit. But I don't want you thinking about it. I don't want my team thinking about it. That's what I do. I manage the project. It's like that's what I do. Like it's like that's fundamentally what I do. Like I try to unlock all the other bullshit, the minutia
Yeah.
of like the fact that we're all in business.
Yeah.
So that in the end of the day, you, my team, and the consultants can just fucking do their job.
Yeah.
If the biggest irritation I get, I mean, it literally stresses. The biggest irritation I get is somebody in the chain, from a client asking for shit that they know is not in our fucking scope, to a consultant who, like, I know a thing is like takes an hour to do, asking for additional service, like, and everything in between. And like some guy like email me every week why his invoice isn't paid when he knows we're on a fucking 45-day cycle. Like it's like I hate it. I hate it, but I also am like, that's my job. Like I fucking try to manage that minutia so that everybody else is not worrying about it. So I get irritated when like there's like people break my dam.
Yeah.
And if you break it too much, if you're a consultant, if you're hearing me, you break that dam like it's not even that many times. Like fucking twice. It's not
You
even
hear that?
three
You hear that,
strikes.
Dave? You hear that, Dave?
You break my dam like a couple times, I'm like, I'm never fucking using you again. I swear to God. Tell all my Gensler bosses, I don't care. I'd rather get fired than work with you because you make my life miserable. My ulcer like this big, and I smoke way too many cigarettes already. So
Right,
you are not worth it.
Man, it's a lot. Project management is something I feel as though I definitely want to go after my PMP.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
No?
No.
But it's just like,
We just talked about how titles are meaningless.
no, it's more the certification.
Why?
For
For
more
what?
the certification.
For who?
Because I think that
For who?
has the legit.
Who's good? No.
I mean, I'm a licensed
No.
interior designer. I mean, why do I need to be licensed? You know? Because there's a business aspect to it too, right? Like the state registration,
fine, maybe.
everything like that, right? I guess if you're a client too, and you're like, oh, okay, Felix, you're also a project manager. You have a PMP. No, you don't think so? No,
No,
okay,
please don't do it.
maybe not.
Don't do it.
Maybe I'll shadow you for a month, then be a PMP.
There's
So I
not-
guess
there's not, unless you want to. No, I can't. No,
No, you don't think so?
no.
Okay,
Don't do it.
interesting.
Don't do it. Here. I'll tell a tangent.
Yeah.
You want a tangential? It's tangential, but
I don't even know what that word is, but go ahead. Keep going.
it's an anecdote
Okay.
that has a similar outcome to why you shouldn't do the dumbass shit you're thinking right now. So when I was at the other firm, this is actually proof positive.
Yes.
Why you shouldn't fucking do this.
Yes.
When I was at the other firm, we were like, this is like pre-crash, right? So the world's fucking on fire with like work is just blowing up everywhere. And
we're talking a 2008 crash
Yeah, we're talking
for everybody.
Yeah,
That's
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm fucking old.
Yeah. Okay. Just keep going. No. I just wanted to clarify. You know,
You didn't need to.
No.
They could have researched this.
they could have. I'm sorry.
We were getting killed, and so we were hiring people like mad, but we couldn't find. We were having a hard time finding project managers or like people that and there was some criticism. There was a growing criticism about most project managers in the architecture universe. Like we're not like business majors. Like we're design or technical people that like kind of just somehow through dumb luck get fucking thrown over this fence. And you swing.
Which is a problem. But go ahead.
Sink or swim. That's a different topic.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can talk about that too, but I'll get through this quick then. So anyway, they went to this purposeful. I was so fucking mad. They went because I'm fucking busting my ass to make this shit work, but they were like, you're still just not doing good. And so they went and purposely hired people. And there are a lot of them, apparently, that had an architecture degree that went back and got had an MBA.
Okay.
There's 4. They hired 4 project managers that all met this criteria. That they purposely put it out in the ether, like we're looking for project managers in an architecture firm, but you must have an MBA. You must have an architecture background in some way, but you have an MBA.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be licensed architect, but you have to have both. And they hired. There's 4 of them. So over like let's call it 6 months or whatever, they hired these people, and there was like a very few of us that were like doing a fucking shit ton of projects. So in the first time in the beginning, it was great. Like all right, cool. Like we spread the pain across all these people. And then just like one by one, these idiots just started dropping like flies, like because Felix, here's the problem again, is that we were the same age, right? It's like call it plus or minus a year. I think really that's probably how all it was. I've been doing architecture from like day one. Like I didn't take a break. I didn't do anything else. Like I was in the fucking dirt, on site, in the fucking CAD, in the
Church.
bitch. I was in the shit until one day someone's like, your life sucks. The only way I can help you get out of this sucky life is to put you in a slightly less sucky life as a project manager.
Move you to a cubicle
at an architecture firm that happens to work internationally instead of designing prisons. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm out. Everybody got their own story. But the reality is that I had been doing nothing but architecture till I did management. And so no one could call my shit. Like, if someone else on my team, and they're like, well, these changes are going to take me 2 weeks. Like I was like, you're fucking crazy. Like I can fucking go right now and do these in 2 days. Like when clients ask you for something and they're like, you have the experience so the problem was all these MBA guys, all these guys who had this business experience had taken a break from architecture. Like they had massive gaps.
And then
they went to architecture school. They went out. They worked a few years. They left architecture because of blah blah whatever reason. Got their MBA. Did a little MBA stuff, and then saw this ad, and they were like, "Oh, perfect!" Like, and they thought they were just going to be like they're going to do more of the MBA stuff and just be like talking theoretical about market strategy and all this other shit.
Sure.
And they all fucking failed. I mean, literally within 2 years, all 4 of them were fired. I'm not talking like they left. Like they were literally all fired because they believed in some fucking bullshit degree that was more important than experience. So every motherfucking second, Felix, that you take thinking about this dumbass degree, this dumbass certification is one less second of experience, which is worth a fucking million times more.
Agreed.
Just do that math. 1 second, million seconds.
Yeah.
How many more fucking seconds of experience do you have?
Yeah.
Fucking a million.
Yeah.
basically.
Well,
so stop it.
I don't
Stop
think
it.
I mean, first,
Stop it.
I don't think it would be something that I would pause what I'm doing in order to get the PMP.
What do you mean pause? How many?
I think it's like 2
seconds in a day.
I think it's like 2 years or something. Like it.
How many
takes.
seconds a day?
I know.
Yeah,
I
but
hear you.
what do you mean you're not going to pause what you're doing? You're going to pause something. Something is gonna pause.
Yeah. Well, as of
You're
right
not
now,
superhuman. You're not King the
yeah. I was just
Conqueror.
gonna say, as of right now, I can't see anything pausing. So again, I'm just talking dreams. I'm talking it's aspirations. I'm talking, big theory here. That's all.
Felix,
That's
what I
all
want
we're
you to
doing.
understand.
That's all we're
This
doing.
is what I'm trying to get to. What I'm trying to get to is that aspirations. You already are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, when you're already fucking awesome, you need like
Do you need that little
the
bit?
little pin at your ass?
But
it's but maybe this one guy,
Yeah.
when I get out of the bathroom, right after I'm zipping up, he's gonna see that pin and know that I'm awesome. I mean, I know every other person. We're talking like we're up 7 billion people now, so we're talking like 7 billion minus that one. They already know you're awesome, dude.
But I guess it was. And thank you for that. Yeah,
Wait, you're trying to tell me someone denied you because
No.
you weren't PMC or PMP or
No.
PM
No.
Certified?
I just think that it would be.
legitified?
I don't know. Advantageous for
Legitified?
me. No, I actually don't know. I don't know why.
Stop it.
I don't
Stop
know
it.
why.
This
Yeah.
is kill right now.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Pinky swear me.
That's interesting.
Don't do it.
Cheers. Well, as we end here, tell us what 2023 looks like.
Personally,
Just in general, just a real quick, like
so
what's going on?
I'm doing the best trip.
Okay,
Even though my Vietnam trip got jacked because we're idiots.
sure.
In the end of February, a friend of mine did his trip pre-COVID, and we're doing it. Like, you find it at DR, Dominican Republic. You take for those that don't know, I don't know. Was that people know DR?
I don't think so. I mean, probably not, but I know DR. But go ahead.
And you go out. It's a liveaboard boat. The first night, overnight, you like sail out. It's like a 10-hour sail. So it's fucking far.
Yeah.
And it's where all the humpbacks. It's a mating spot for humpback whales.
Really?
And you anchor in, and you spend a week just
watching fish.
No, swimming. What? You get in. You
and you watch them just banging it out. You watching orgies? You watching whale
No,
orgies?
you watch them like
watch them flop around.
I mean, I would watch it, but that's not why I'm out there. I'm out there because I'm trying to. One of my favorite shows of all time, because I'm old, is The Voyage of the Mimi. They followed humpback whales. Ben Affleck, his start in the whole world. Look it up. Voyage of the Mimi. He's a little kid on a boat.
Is that, and then they launched their movie production after that?
He was like 10.
This Boys and Mimi or whatever it is?
Voyage of the Mimi.
Oh, really? It's like 10? Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
a
I thought he
PBS
got
show.
it started like when he was like 17, 18.
No, he was acting forever.
Jesus.
Way before Damon.
Really?
He like carried Damon early.
Well, I know he gave it to it.
So that's that's my personal outlook.
Great.
The rest of it, I think 2023 is gonna be fucking awesome.
When should we circle back here? June? Or January?
Wait, another year from now?
Yeah, right?
Fuck that.
Yeah. June? June. We'll sing it for
Right.
June. Okay.
Don't hate me.
Well, cheers. Thank you again, man, for coming, dude. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Did we cover all the good points?
We did. That was fire. Well, thank you, everybody, for checking out the podcast with Brett Taylor, here to tell us a little bit more about the products that you see in Scene and where we are at, is Sarah. So, Sarah, go ahead. You can introduce yourself.
Hi, Felix. I'm Sarah Etchison. I'm the North American Regional Sales Manager with Brentano.
Nice. And tell us a little bit more about Brentano, the company.
So Brentano is a textile house, and we're located here. It's a family-owned company that's located here in the suburbs of Chicago, in Wheeling, Illinois. The company has been in business for around 30 years. and it's a certified minority business, minority-owned business.
Nice.
But it's really fun. We've got our own design studio that does textile design and a little bit of wall covering design now.
Very cool. Yeah, I believe I saw Iris's presentation at Chicago Textile Week, and it was great. I didn't know that Brentano was local, so that's an awesome kind of story too. And knowing things like that for sure.
The intersection of art and business. That was her presentation at Textile Week. Yeah.
Nice. And we talk a little bit about wall coverings. I know that was something that's a big push on those too.
So yes, wall covering is something that's relatively new from Brentano. We've been working with it for about 18 months now. And so today I really wanted to focus on wall covering. We're sitting in front of one of our exciting newer patterns. This is called Central. And it's just this really modern interpretation of concrete. And it was designed, all of our wall coverings are designed in-house. So all of our patterns are done by our design studio. We don't distribute a pattern, that's made by the mill. We design everything ourselves.
Yes.
So we have the rollers, we tool with the coloring. But of course we have a partnership with a mill that's located here in the United States. But this was inspired by the endless amounts of concrete that our designers see in their travels every day on their commutes. The next one I want to talk about, Andromeda is actually set on a mylar, so it gives it a beautiful reflection when it's hanging. Its sister fabric is Olympia. Celeste was a watercolor study done by Iris Wang, our creative director and founder, and it was basically a study in shadow and light. Chateau has a sister fabric, Manderley, my personal favorite fabric. Fervor is the next one I'm showing. This is a beautiful vertical strié, so a great seam hider. And it also has a sister fabric, Effervescence. So as you can see, a lot of these are inspired by current fabrics in our textiles in our line. Hikaru was another watercolor study on rice paper that was translated to the Type 2 vinyl. The next one I'm showing you is Kanso. This is probably my personal favorite. It's a beautiful faux silk that was done with excellent tonalities. The next one is Teme. This was another watercolor study, but we added a really great emboss to it that almost gives it this beautiful, intricate faux tile appearance. And then Traverse. This is something that was inspired by the paths we take and the beautiful pebbles you see, but it also does have a sister fabric in our line. Hourglass, and you can see it's just got this beautiful OG pattern. You cannot see the seams when it's installed. It's absolutely stunning. And then something we're especially excited about, Haiku. This is our first endeavor into a mural. And this is a beautiful 3-panel mural that has 4 colorways to choose from. And you can see here, the memo cards do come with a beautiful layout of the pattern. And you get a great synopsis of all the colorways available in each option.
Nice. Well, thank you again for hosting us on this podcast. And where can people follow you or follow Brentano?
We're obviously, you could LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, BrentanoFabrics.com is our website. But I would say we also are on Pinterest. So if designers want to go there for inspiration when they're searching for inspiration when they start their projects, we have a great Pinterest board. But I would definitely encourage people to just do the Brentano Fabrics on Instagram, and it's all one word. But there we publish little informational videos and, like flat lays, just inspirational imagery and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you again.
Yeah, thanks.
Your safety is important. If you observe unattended packages, vandalism, or suspicious activity, inform CTA personnel immediately. Doors closing.